Testosterone, we have a problem.
This is Outside the Manosphere, where two guys with zero credentials dive past the cliches of masculinity and try to become better friends by actually talking to each other. It's weirdly hard, but we're doing it anyway. Join us.
Welcome to Outside the Manosphere. I'm Skip.
And I'm Carlos.
Hey, Carlos. How's it going today?
It's going well today, buddy. I am busily manifesting a wonderful springtime, and it's a beautiful day outside, and my dogs are laying out in the heat, enjoying the smells, and things are upright. I'm way in the morning over here, but you're already in mid-afternoon, so you've got some time behind you. What's going on with you?
The kids are almost home. This is sort of my slow day because I set aside time to do these, to talk to my good buddy Carlos.
I think you mean exciting day.
Oh, exciting, but like slow as far as the number of things that I need to do.
Yeah.
I don't stack my lists quite so heavily on Tuesdays.
Well, I did mention manifesting, and as this little catch-up we're doing here, I'd like to know, are you still practicing little manifestations?
So yeah, I fell off for like a week or so, and I've been trying to pick it back up. So for the last week I've been manifesting, and I'm kind of playing with it and trying to do different because I don't know how to do it. I'm just like making stuff up, and like I said last time, I'm breathing in money and breathing out spiders or whatever. And I'm focusing, and like I don't really know how you're supposed to do this, but for me, part of it is just about, I guess there's kind of this forgotten erstwhile notion of primacy of like putting things in my mind to like pay attention to during the week and kind of steer from my subconscious or even my conscious, just to kind of like, all right, this is something I'm focusing on. So that's kind of how I'm using it. There was a while where I was trying to manifest things that were outside my power, and now I'm reeling it back in and being like, no, let me manifest. Let me like be a little bit. I'm trying to like reconcile the manifestations with my scientific side and say, okay, it's got to be something that I have some control over.
Well, give me an example of what you were trying to manifest that's outside your power.
I was trying to manifest magically having a lot more money, or or getting positive responses to writing I was submitting or something like that.
Yeah.
So like I'm working. So I've changed that to like, all right, I'm going to manifest, being prodigious in my writing this week, or I'm going to manifest, thinking about losing weight. I'm going to think about eating healthier and desiring more healthy foods and breathing in deeply and breathing out carbon and whatever. I don't know.
Well, so I pledge to do a little tutorial at the end of this because I know I'd said so a couple episodes ago, but I'll definitely do it this time. But I want to say, like, I mean, without going into the weeds on this, do manifest what feels right to you. But there's absolutely nothing wrong with sort of trying to draw things that are outside of your power. And I think at some point, off mic, I know I say this, this is becoming an often thing, but like, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm robbing anyone listening to this, but like, I'll tell you some of the stuff that Jody and myself have manifested that were completely outside of our power. And I feel like it'd be inappropriate to like say it because it does involve money and it just doesn't feel right, like being public about it. But there's some stuff that like, I remember I told my mother about it, and her eyes bugged out of her head that this thing happened in a way that we were hoping it would, and it wasn't something that we had any control over.
All right, yeah, we can do that sometime. I can tell you about a dark manifestation that my wife and I finally made.
Oh no.
But yeah, okay. So I look forward to a little tutorial.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's coming. Yeah, we'll do it as an outro and see where that takes us. I've never tutored anyone in this subject, but I can just tell you how I do it. I think that'll be enough, I think.
That sounds wondrous.
All right. Well, what do you got on this segment we're calling musings? Huh? What have you been thinking about?
What I've been thinking about is I've been thinking about AI and 3D printing and things like that in the future, especially having kids. Like my son wants to be an artist, And, I don't know if there's going to be much room for art in the future with AI, like, or if it's going to be something that's, there's a very select few successful artists that it becomes kind of a, something that only the very richest, most elite people can have humans make their art or something. Like, who knows? Like, we're just kind of going down these weird rabbit holes. And like one of the things that I was talking to another buddy of mine, and he was telling me about this train station in Japan, and I had to look it up, and I shared the link with you in Economic Times, and about how they had pre 3D printed all these sections of this new train station, and they built this train station overnight while the trains weren't running, and it was running trains the next day. And that's like, especially as I'm in Prague and they're redoing JZP, which is a tram stop nearby us, and it's taking like a year to refurbish one that already exists. And that's a lot of work that's kind of going away, even if you've got somebody to put these things in overnight or to print these things. That's like a lot of manpower gone. And between 3D printing and AI and things, like, I'm really curious, and I wonder how much of the, there, I think the manosphere is largely about isolation and being disconnected and being hopeless. And that people inside the manosphere might not say that, but that's what I feel like. That's where the emotions feel like that. Like, that's where that anger comes from, is being disconnected and feeling hopeless about a lot of different things. And I'm wondering, like, what does the world look like for my son? Like, what kind of jobs, as I'm trying to like grow my children and direct them towards a life they can live, because we're not billionaires that can fund our kids forever. What kind of job are they going to get that's going to still exist? I used to say like construction, but then there's this 3D printing thing, and it's
Right.
like, okay, well, it's got to be something that only humans can do. Is it going to be like, are you going to be like a footman, like an old timey butler to somebody? Like, what can you do in the
Yeah.
future that's going to be safe from all this new technology?
Beats me. I mean, I guess, I mean, anything that you need to transport, like the death industry,
Yeah,
you know, people got to be buried. People there, there's got to be sort of services like that, I suppose. Medicine in some ways, like paramedicine, I think I'll be all right.
yeah. I
But
think you're
then,
right.
but even with like diagnosing people, that's going to go out the window. That's going to be fully machine,
Yep.
and maybe for the better. Actually, I mean, humans are great, obviously, but like if a machine can, and machines have picked up ailments and disease that doctors have missed because they're bringing all these things together and they're connecting dots that a person can't do, you know what I
Right.
mean, in much faster ways. So yeah, I don't know, but you reminded me though with the lack of jobs. So there was an era. There's probably a million of these eras, but like one that I learned about when I was in college, and I don't remember what class it was, but it was like a literature class, and we were reading. I think the guy's name was James Dickey. Definitely Dickey. I don't remember his first name. I'm pretty sure it was James Dickey, but he wrote the book that the movie Deliverance was based on.
Hmm.
And Deliverance was a movie in the 70s. I have never watched it. There is it's with Burt Reynolds, which if you're young, you don't know who that is, but he was a real hunk in the 70s and 80s. But the scene that it's known for is there was like a bunch of guys that just I think they've just come back from Vietnam. Or have you seen it? I guess maybe you should be
I've seen it a
summarizing.
couple times. I
Okay,
think I've seen it twice.
so you give a quick summary because I haven't seen it, and I have a reason for bringing it up. So go.
Well, my memory is not fantastic, but basically, there's several guys that are they're going on kind of a fishing hunting trip or something like that. One of them is Burt Reynolds, and one of them's Ned Beatty, and somebody else I can't remember. But they go up into kind of Appalachia, and they run into some nefarious hillbillies, um, that go about hunting and having their way with them, and just kind of like it's a tale of survival. But the monsters are, it's one of the, it falls under that kind of like Silence of the Lambs terror, where it's like the monsters are real people.
Right.
Like, there's nothing supernatural, they're not
Yeah.
monsters, they're just mean, terrible people somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I brought it up is because Dickey was often criticized for being, I believe, overly masculine in his writing. But there was a group of writers at the period of time that were writing this sort of like Deliverance is a whole allusion to men sort of losing their way because guys were just
Mm.
coming back from Vietnam, and unlike World War II, they weren't celebrated. They were coming back, and the war was a very different war, obviously, but like
Right.
they were coming back from Vietnam, proudly in their uniforms, and they're getting spit on and stuff like that. And there was this whole feminist movement at the time, and which was new, and they just weren't feeling the appreciation that they thought they deserved or they were expecting. And Dickey kind of captured that in the movie Deliverance, where in that famous scene, and I won't go into detail, but there's graphic sexual violence, man on man
Yep.
sexual violence, and it's so known that I've never even seen the movie, but the movie's famous for it. So I'm assuming it's the same in the book, and it's sort of a metaphor for like the penetration of man, the feminization of man, and the loss of what it means to be a man. And I'm connecting this to the whole topic you were bringing up with AI and 3D printing and how the loss of jobs. And you have all these guys, and mostly men, that are in construction. In this one small example, where their father was a worker in construction, maybe their grandfather, whatever. They don't know anything else, and now they don't even have that. You know what I mean? You don't have to go to
Right.
school for it. There's no vocational training. You're just not doing it anymore. And maybe you've been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years, and now you're not going to be doing that. You've been laid off because, oh, we're switching to this thing. There's an identity loss there, and I think that does lead to isolation and anger, and you think you gravitate towards authoritarianism or populism in a negative way. And yeah, I mean that could be a real possibility if society doesn't adjust. And I think it doesn't have to be that way. But like with AI, with all the money you're saving not paying workers, with all the money you're saving not paying designers, I mean, the amount that you're saving as a capitalist, you're just pocketing that money. You're not. It's not going back into society.
Right.
It's not going into social programs that are going to keep these people that have just fallen through the cracks from falling through the cracks. They're just going to sink,
Mhm.
and then they're not going to
Yeah.
be able to pay their mortgages. They're not going to be able to provide for their families, men or women, and that's going to create a tornado of discontent. And
Yeah.
yeah, it does worry me. I'm curious to see how it goes because I love AI. I lean heavily on AI and, for a lot of things.
So I'm gonna try and poison you against AI a little bit
Okay.
now, because I don't know if you know like how much it. So if you're interested in the environment or ecology, it is horrid for it. It is the worst.
I, I
It
I did not know that,
it.
and I read that with a little bit of a resentment to you. And I was like, man,
Yeah. Sorry.
why does Skip have to tell me this thing?
Yeah, it uses just a tremendous amount of energy, and surprisingly, it's not the first thing you'd think. It uses tremendous amount of water, like
Hmm.
fresh water,
Right.
because for the cooling process of these things, these automatic, Google AI results that come up now, it's like 10 times as much energy to search something now, and or it might even be more than that. I might be shooting low, but yeah, it's really mind-boggling the amount of electricity and power that it uses and the amount of like negative implications that it has. So that's my little poisoning of that, since you mentioned it. But yeah, I mean, it's really attractive. It's really nice. But it came up a couple. Once I said my sons, but also for myself. Like I'm kind of in a period. I've been an educator for a really long time, but I've had a lot of different jobs, and I have a couple little companies here in Prague. But we already were building. Me and some friends were building another company that we shut down because we saw AI, and we were like, oh, we're not going to be able to compete with this in a few years, even though we're doing a service here that people really need. We were doing legal contracts, like all the different legal contracts in English and Czech, so that because that's really hard to find, and lawyers are super expensive, and a lot of these things are boilerplate, so somebody will pay hundreds of dollars for something that really, like, even in the US, where a lot of things are very expensive and stuff, you could get for like $5 because it's so standardized.
Hmm.
But here you have to go to somebody like a lawyer to draw up contracts that are really simple, hundreds of dollars, which is a lot more a lot more money here too than it is in other places. So like run into that, and I was looking at some PhD programs that I could go to because I was thinking about what I do next if writing doesn't work out, and I'm looking for kind of a new direction because something new and fresh. And I was looking at PhD programs that are in English here, and one of them was radiology, which you had mentioned, kind of these diagnostics. And like I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's always been a good job. It's pretty low key. It's high paid. And then I was like, oh yeah, but AI is so much better at that than we are.
Yeah, and it's
It's
coming
like
fast too.
amazing. Yeah, and it is one of those things that this is a really good use. Like it notifies people of cancers months and months and months earlier than, if not years in some cases, than doctors can do with their eyes. So like there are some really good things, but as I'm looking through this list of like just, things that you can be trained in for jobs, and I'm like, man, what's safe? And that's kind of where I this question came from me, but yeah, I think you bring in a lot of good points, like the drawing to Deliverance and this disaffection. It really does seem like a potential problem. How do you feel about UBI?
What is UBI?
UBI is universal base income.
Oh, yeah, I'm all for
Have you ever heard of that?
it. Yeah, I have heard of it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I have heard of it. Yeah, dude. Like, if you're gonna have AI taking over everything, then there has to be some sort of means of living for everyone else. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and I mean, right now it's just you're at least in the U.S. It's like you're gonna sink or swim. I mean, there's a minimum wage, but you're not guaranteed a paycheck if you don't have a job. And
Hmm.
minimum wage, at least in Texas, I don't know. Last time I checked, it was like 750. I'm sure it's higher now, but I mean, you couldn't live on that in the 90s. Like, how
Yeah.
could you possibly do that now?
Yeah. I think most major cities in the US, if you make minimum wage working full time, it's not enough to live there.
No.
I think last time I checked.
I
Um,
think the city of San Francisco. Well, no, because that's so expensive to live there too. But like,
yeah.
yeah, but the minimum wage there was like $15. This was 15 years ago, but it was really high up.
So I love the idea of UBI. I just brought it up kind of out of the blue, but and that's universal base income, and basically everybody just gets a certain amount. Doesn't matter. Everybody just
I
gets it, and it's
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
go for it. Go for it.
So I agree, and I think tying this back to not necessarily the manosphere, just sort of the sense of no fairisms is people like, oh, I work, I pay taxes. Like, why should I
Yeah.
be? Yeah, yeah, a really good example. This is years and years ago, and my stepfather's a wonderful man, generous. He's a great man, but we were always disagreeing politically. And I remember I was going through a really hard time just financially. This was I don't know about 20 years ago, and I was saying how like my student loans have I've been ensnared in them, and I've been made
Mhm.
a slave, and I had not. It was totally off my radar before then. I was like, "Oh, wow, they got me. I'm a slave now. I'm a slave. I'll be a
Yeah.
slave for the foreseeable future." And I was complaining to him about like I don't have medical insurance and this and this and this. And I was talking about like a universal Medicare or whatever. And so
Yeah. Single
we're
payer.
yeah, yeah. And so we were arguing about it. Not arguing. We were debating about it, and he was trying to use the example. He's like, "So what you're saying?" Like he thought this was going to get me. And again, I'm not. He's not a bad person. He's a really good
Right.
person, but he thought he was going to get me with this. He's like, "So what you're saying is, if you're sick, it's going to take 20 of us to make you well again." Like as a small sort of example he was giving, and I was like, "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying."
Yeah.
I said because if you were sick, I'd be happy to contribute to your wellness. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I don't think he was kind of taken aback by that answer because he was expecting to be like, "Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way." But I'm like, "No, dude, that's exactly what I'm saying. We all work together to help each
Right.
other out. This isn't you're not alone in this country. You're not alone in this system. Like we're all working together to do this." And yeah, you pay taxes, and the tragedy of it all is that and I don't know what they are these days, but like people are getting taxed at the same amount as someone who's making billions of dollars. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or
Or
it's just
or more.
or more. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
it does not make any sense. You can be taxed like in the 50s or whatever at like 90%, and you're still fucking rich. You know what I mean? Like super rich. And yeah, it's not like that now. Now it's I don't know what it is now, but it's really low. And these guys are just if you're talking about somebody robbing from the pot, it's the guys that aren't paying their
Right.
taxes. Those are the ones that are really stealing from you. But instead, we're all fighting against each other, thinking like, oh, this
Right.
poor guy's taking and taking and taking and taking. But no, it's the guys on the top that are taking.
No, yeah, and I think you make a really good point, and especially with the guys at the top. There's something that I thought was interesting that came up this week was Bill Gates announced that he'd give away 99% of his fortune. And like there are some really interesting things to think about that with that. For one, finally. And people will be like, well, he worked really hard for that. And I just want to like be really clear. You have no idea how much $1 billion is. And he has like $108 billion. So
Right.
even when he gives away 99% of his money, he's still going to have more than $1 billion.
Right.
He's going to make more in interest in a year than many people make in their lifetime.
Right.
And like, there's no way he is working in 1 year as a retired guy harder than other people work in their entire lives.
No.
That's just bananas. So like, for one, good, finally, we've got some people that are starting to recognize, oh, I've got way too much, like way too much.
Well, in his defense, I think this had been. I saw the headlines for that, and I haven't read the article that you sent me. But in his defense, I believe he made that pledge a couple decades ago, and I think he was getting other billionaires on board as well. But now it's accelerated. I don't know. I don't remember I don't know what the details are now, but I think it's accelerated.
That's Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's the guy that made the pledge.
Oh, okay,
years ago, and he's been trying to get other.
I-
If I recall,
I could be wrong. I thought Bill Gates was
Yeah.
on board as well, but anyway, Andrew Carnegie did that, but like after he died, like he hoarded
Yeah.
all his wealth until he died, and yeah.
And it's just, I mean, it's unbelievable, like how much money people just have no concept of how much $1 billion is. Like you can make $1,000 an hour for your entire life, and you'll never get there. So like, there's no amount of hard working.
No.
It's impossible to believe that somebody's working that hard. So coming back one last time, getting away from the billionaire talk, one thing at the same conversation that I was having with these guys in the beer garden, a guy and two ladies actually. One of them, I understand, is training to be a death doula, and I know that there are AI chatbots that are trying to take over, but I really think that this is a space like, if there was one place I could choose to push humanity to make jobs, is these caretaking positions, these
Mhm.
positions where we connect with people and take. I mean, death doulas, I could never do it. I would be absolutely destroyed. But I have had multiple relatives in hospice, and I've known people that have been death doulas. And for people that don't know, death doula is just basically somebody that takes somebody that's terminal with some kind of disease or sickness, or just something where they're about to die, and they help them through the process of death. And that might sound weird, but like there's a lot of like physical things that happen. There's a lot of mental things and emotional things, and ways that you can help the people around the person that's dying. There's no capital benefit to it,
Right.
but there's such a benefit to taking care of somebody in their last days, so that they're not miserable or alone or afraid, or they're those things to the minimal amount, or all those kinds of jobs they're about connection, that are about getting people to take care of each other. Like that's part of, I think, why the manosphere exists, is because these people are so disaffected and they don't have that connection. Like how can we, if we're going to be displaced by AI, how can we build something that AI can't do, that we genuinely need?
Or even just, I mean, how can we stay relevant? You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of people are just going to start drifting. Like they've got nothing else. They've got nothing else to live for. Really, I mean, like
Yeah.
some people live to work. That's all they do, or all they know is like, oh, my role right now. My role right now is father or mother. I've got to provide for my kid. I go to work. I put my head to the grindstone, nose to the grindstone, and then I come home. I feed them. I go to bed, and I do it again. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you take that away, it's like, well, now what? You know what I mean? Now what do I do?
Oh man, I feel that so hard because for a long time, I was really good at living and doing things that I enjoyed and connecting with people and bringing people together. That was back when I was an extrovert. Now, now I'm a very, very heavy introvert. But I got into, sort of a negative relationship, I'll say, that I had a very, me and my ex-wife were not good together.
Mhm.
And I was put into a position where it was very much about like, I need to do these things. I need to fill this role. And I got really into work and caretaking and things like that. And I had a really, I still have a really hard time. I've had a hard time ever since then finding that person that I was before and like who could have fun and be carefree and knew like when I wasn't working or when I wasn't fulfilling some position had some like I didn't just feel I guess what I'm trying to say is it's easy if you've kind of bought into these roles and you've inhabited them when you don't have work to do, when you're not fulfilling part of that, you can feel really lost.
Right.
Like even if you're surrounded by people you love, like it's just like I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
Yeah.
And I think people need help finding that too. Yeah.
How much of that do you think was related to just moving to a foreign country and like kind of rediscovering yourself? Because I see before you answer, I went, like I said before, I went I was super unhappy. This was in 2010 or so. I was like miserably unhappy. I've been unhappy a long time, as I've said also, but I was like super unhappy so much that I called out on Facebook, like, who's got a sofa I can live on until I get near a body of water. I want to learn how to sail and I want to go there. And I ended up moving to San Francisco and it was an adjustment there. Like I'm not from here. I'm from Texas, where apparently like I thought Austin was pretty progressive. But anyway, I got to San Francisco, totally different place. Moved to Prague, even more foreign, and then moved here, all foreign from Prague. So it's like every time I've moved, it's like, okay, I got to like reinvent myself and like remember who I was, remember what my purpose is, like, and just figure it all out again and again and again. So, how much of that do you think was just adjusting to, I don't know, a new country, a new marriage, and then you're no longer with that woman, and then fatherhood and another marriage, and like, what do you
Yeah.
think all that has to do with that?
So actually, interestingly, like changing countries was really positive for me, both times I came here. So in the U.S., I was a super angry person. I was angry. I was depressed. I thought I was an angry and depressed person, and I came to Prague, and it just like melted away. And it turned out I just was really not a good fit for where I was.
Hmm.
So the first time I was in Prague, I really like came into myself. I came to life, and then I went back and I did my walk across the U.S. and I kind of wound up sort of getting stuck there for a while. And I didn't necessarily intend to, and it's not a bad place to be, but I didn't intend to be there, and I didn't really know what I was doing, and I wound up in the U.S. longer than I intended to be.
Was this Chico, California, or where was this?
No, no, no. This was well, I ultimately wound up in Austin because there were some jobs down there that I knew about, and it was one of the towns that I had gone through when I walked that I was like, oh, I could live here. So I wound up down there, but I just wasn't happy again. And I came back here, and oh man, it was wonderful. It was great. If anything, it was a combination of my relationship with my ex-wife and getting into management, actually running some businesses and running a school and dealing with lots of people all the time. That turned me into an introvert pretty well, and it was so much work that I forgot how to do anything else.
Yeah, I imagine the people pulling you in different directions is a unhappy place to be.
Yeah, and I kind of got out of all those things at the same time, and I went on a couple adventures. After that, I went with some guys and I did the Mongol Rally. We drove from Prague to Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, through
Hmm.
a bunch of different countries, and then I went and did part of the John Muir Trail, and then I boarded that attempt for reasons that we can talk about another time. But then I ended up going to see my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, and that's when kind of everything started. And things with her are wonderful. Things with her have always been wonderful. But yeah, even she had two kids when we met, and got married, and yeah, I was like instant dad. And that was a big shock. And I've really like, I had just kind of started to recover, but I was like a fun single guy that did crazy stuff, and that was a big not possible anymore. So
Yeah.
trying to figure out how to survive for the people that I love and also be alive for me. That's been something that I've been struggling with for years now.
So yeah, in a I guess in a small way, it was kind of redefining your roles and yeah, it can be disorienting. I mean, and yours were big. I mean, especially when the responsibility of having a child, like that's it's no longer
Yeah.
like, oh, if I screw up, it's just me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
another person that's gonna that's gonna suffer these consequences as they
Yeah.
age. And remember who's responsible for them.
Yes. J'accuse.
All right, Skip. Well, in lieu of our 36 questions to fall in love, I'd like to talk about something related to the manosphere, but not necessarily. It's kind of culture wide in the US. I mean, we might be coming a little late to the subject because I feel like when the Trump administration was elected in November, I think there was a culture shift to where, well, what I want to talk about essentially is cancel culture. And I feel like yeah, maybe that was a lot of control at times. I think it was necessary at times, and I think right now it's just back burner.
We're in reboot culture now.
Yeah, we are in reboot. That's a great way to describe it. We are in reboot culture because yeah, I mean stuff that became intolerable for a lot of people. I mean, I think it's unquestionable that in one way or another, the right wing conservative part of the United States has won the
Mhm.
political battle. And I think things like cancel culture, and specifically what I want to talk about is I don't hear it so much as a complaint these days because, like I said, I think cancel culture has essentially lost. But is comedy dead? Because before we were in such a place of political correctness that I think it became unfashionable for a lot of comedians, and a lot of comedians were canceled for things that they said. And some of them are really bitter about it. I think specifically of like Bill Maher. You ever watch or listen to Bill Maher?
I have, yeah. I used to listen to him a lot more, but yeah, he's really beats the drum. Yeah.
Yeah, he really, really does. I think Dave Chappelle is another one. And
Mhm.
Dave Chappelle, man, like, yeah, he's got some hot spots where I would be like, "Eesh, a little cringy, a little I don't know about that," but man, that guy makes me laugh. But he's another one that was banging the drum as well. I think right now Bill Burr. I don't know if you're familiar with his work at all.
I know of him, but
Yeah.
I'm not as familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. He's pretty funny. I think he's threading a pretty fine needle. Like
Mhm.
he's not quite cancelable if we went back, 6, 7, 8 months. But he's right on the line, and I think that's where he wants to be. But he's pretty funny too. But a lot of these guys were complaining that like they can't be funny anymore because like the left comes after them and they quash whatever they have to make jokes about. But I guess my question to you, and if you haven't really thought about it, I'm fully prepared to march forward. Is do you think that that's a fair sort of assessment from them that they're not allowed or they weren't allowed to make jokes about race or misogyny because they'd be canceled? But hey, they were air quotes jokes and like you're overly sensitive. It's almost like gaslighting in a way. And it's learn how to take a joke. This is comedy. This is what you paid for. This is why I'm doing stand up. What do you think about that? What do you think about that notion that this is just a joke and you're being sensitive?
Well, I mean, right. So here's the thing. If people are getting upset, it's probably not actually funny. Like I mean, there might be people that think it's really funny and you might think it's really funny, but if your job is to make people laugh and people are pissed off at you, you're probably just not doing your job that well.
Right.
And yeah, like you used to be able to get away with a lot of these things. You used to be able to get away with a lot of things. There used to be prima nocta. There's like things change. Like grow up, adapt. This is the world we live in. And yeah, I mean, for me, it sounds like a really kind of lazy thing. It's like I knew how to be funny by doing this,
Right.
and now I don't know how to be funny anymore. I was like, well, like there's plenty of comedians out there doing bang up jobs that don't have to be racist and things. Like,
Right.
you can be inventive, you can be fun, you can be all these things and manage not to be racist. I don't
Right.
I don't think it's that big of a deal. I just I get I get why they're upset, because this is how they made their job. Nothing, they haven't changed, and they're doing their thing, and now they're getting flack for something that they used to really be benefited by. And so, like, when you consider it from their point of view, like, you can see why they'd be upset, but they're only upset because they're only considering their point of view.
Right. Well, and they're also speaking to people like them. You know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
they're the ones that find the majority that find that whatever humor they're making is within their either socioeconomic group or racial group or I guess religious group. I don't know how much religious comedy there is really, but like their general audience are the people that are like them, and there are outliers. Of course, there are people that will laugh at people within the culture or race or whatever that are being lampooned that will laugh with it,
Yeah.
and that have I've seen like there was it was a YouTube thing. It was a guy dressed like a ridiculous caricature of a Mexican. He had like a sombrero and like a fake mustache. He was wearing a poncho, and he was walking around. I don't know if it was like a Hispanic area of the U.S. or he was in Mexico or where he was, but he was asking the Hispanic guys like Spanish is their primary language. Like he'd walk up looking like a clown. They'd say, "Hey, are you offended by this?" And they're like, "Nah, it's funny. It's funny." And it's like, yeah, because you're not asking the person who's within the culture that you're laughing with. These guys are completely outside, and you coming in here looking like an idiot. They think that's funny. It's not like
Right.
they're not a part of the group that are trying to be taken seriously within your group. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, for me, here's another way I'd put it is like it's very hypocritical to be like, I'm upset that you're upset.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, that's true.
yeah, people are upset. Like, you can make those jokes, but you have to live with the fact that some people aren't going to like it. That's part of the deal. It's like people get confused about like free speech. Like, oh, we can't say, you can say those things, but then people are also, they have their free speech to respond to you. You're
Right.
not protected from repercussions.
Mhm.
You're protected from legal ramifications. But like society has, like, this is the social contract. This is how society is supposed to function, is that when enough of society deems something not okay anymore, we all are supposed to, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes it's easier with some things than others, but we're all supposed to step up and kind of be like, hey, yo, toe the line. Things, this isn't okay anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it used to be okay to do all kinds of things. It used to be okay to beat your wife. Like, this isn't okay anymore. We're
Mhm.
supposed to step up and change and adapt. And like complaining that you feel like you're getting, like, people don't like you. It's just like, well, you're literally lampooning them. And so you're basically being insulting to a group of people, and then you're crying like a baby that people don't like you. And it's just kind of like tough, man.
Well, that's yeah, but you know what? Their argument though is that this group that I'm lampooning aren't angry. Like I said, that YouTube thing was like, look, I'm showing Mexican guys, and they're not upset. It's like, yeah, but they're also not watching your comedy shows. Those guys aren't watching your shows. They're picking strawberries. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
they're not watching YouTube clips of you. You know what I'm saying? But their argument is that the people that are upset by this are or liberal university
Sure.
kids or white people that are feeling guilty about inequity or something like that, you know? So yeah, I mean, I still think that yeah, you make fun of a group, you're still not an asshole, but you're just being insensitive. You're not thinking of like I don't know. It's like if you make a race joke, you're not trying to make that race laugh. You're trying to make your race laugh. You know what I mean? Case in point, when Stephen Colbert had his show, The Colbert Report, where he was parodying a right wing conservative back when they were way more moderate than they are now. And if yeah, I mean, it was a funny show then. You know what I mean? But anyway, he did a bit where I can't remember the details anymore, but he was saying how he was impersonating somebody on the right that was like naming their Chinese kid. Um, I don't know. He made some super racist sound, and it's like that's how you name your kid. It's kind of a classic like third grade joke.
Cho Chang. Oh wait, is that a J.K. Rowling?
Is that what she said something like that or what?
No, she has a character named Cho Chang.
Oh, does she? I don't know. I haven't read any of her stuff, but anyway, so he made this joke about, and so on the surface, the joke was making fun of
Hmm.
these right wing conservatives that would say something as ridiculous
Right.
as this made up Chinese name to name their kid, or I can't remember what it was, but
Hmm.
really the joke was making fun of conservatism.
The conservatives, yeah.
Yes, but in the same vein, he wasn't trying to make Chinese people laugh. He was trying to make
Right.
white people laugh at this Chinese
Right.
joke. And so there was a little movement by I don't remember who the woman was, but she was Asian American or Chinese American, and she was saying she was doing like a hashtag like cancel Colbert, and she got flack for that because oh, it's just a joke, and it was such a sophisticated joke that it was packaged in a way like no, he's making fun of these guys, but it's the same principle. He was mocking this one group and making fun of he was making fun of two groups at once. You know what I mean? And the
Right.
audience were people like him, and of course he wasn't canceled, and he's great. He's funny. He's a really funny guy.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I mean. Is I don't know. It's an instance of like, oh, cancel culture gone too far, but not really. Like this is if
Right.
you just
Right.
look
Right.
at
Right.
it, like it's not outrageous.
Well, and my bet is, knowing Stephen Colbert, that he probably, I don't know what happened in this instance, but I bet if you cornered him, he would apologize for that, and he might feel bad for that. I
You
could
know,
be wrong.
you know
I
what?
could be wrong.
It went on for a while, and he never apologized for it. He was
Oh, really?
I think he like took it as like no. I think that was his comedy dead moment. I think he was like, no, this is a joke, and you're being sent.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't want to. Shouldn't speak for him.
Yeah.
I don't know the man,
Sure. Sure.
but
Sure.
and maybe he did apologize, but I don't think he did because I watched him pretty regularly at the time, and I don't recall there ever being an apology. Just kind of like, no, this is
Yeah.
going away, and I'm insisting that it goes away. And what I think he's a stand-up guy. I don't think he meant anything by it, but like it was still an insensitive thing to do.
Well, I think this is one of the things that one of the few things that I actually kind of trust capitalism to do. Like, if you really are sticking to your guns and you want to make these jokes, that's fine. That's fine. You make your jokes. It's First Amendment, but you have to live with the consequences with those with that. And if ultimately you don't get work anymore, it's because enough people didn't like it that it's not a functioning thing. Like, this is how the market economics work. Like, this is the system that so many people love. And for one thing, I think this actually works. Like, for if you can, and there are definitely some very big negatives to that system. Like, there are people that corner the far right and make plenty of money doing absolutely terrible things, but they've basically canceled themselves in that case.
Mhm.
And they've bought in completely to, like, all right, I am canceled out of this main culture. That's part of my bit. That's part of my shtick. And then they make it and they use it to make money. So, like, it's part of if you want to be part of the mainstream culture, and if you want to, like, exist outside of that alt right and outside of these other, like, little niches, then you have to, like, that's your customers. You have to play to those people, and if you can be successful doing that, that's kind of how it kind of regulates itself in
Mhm.
in some ways, I think.
You know, in a weird example of kind of self-regulation, I guess. I can't remember the character's name, but I'm assuming you watched The Mandalorian on the Disney show of Star Wars. You never watched The
I
Mandalorian?
didn't. No, I never did.
Oh my
No.
god, it's so good. Anyway, there's a character, and I forget her name, but she was played by a wrestler, so she was kind of a beefy, beautiful woman, but like muscular and like very powerful looking. And if I recall correctly, she got a lot of like flack for being a woman in a main role in Star Wars, and you know, it being a DEI hire, which is really shitty in itself. And she was getting it all from people who didn't like that sort of thing. And I think she took her platform to I don't remember what she was complaining about, but she was like being inappropriate on the right though. I can't remember. I really could remember, but she was spouting stuff that she was like conservative, and she got fired. Like she was on the show and then she got fired, and people were like, "Oh, free speech, free speech." And there's some comment was like, "No, she can say whatever she wants. She just isn't going to be saying it on Disney's payroll now." And I thought that was really really funny because that's exactly right. Yeah, you can say whatever you want, but
Yeah.
how much of it is going to be tolerated is entirely up to you. But yeah, she got fired for something. Are you looking it up?
I am. I'm looking it up because I do remember this, even though I didn't watch the show. Media posts denigrating people based on their cultural and religious identities was basically what she got in trouble for. And at one point, she mocked mask wearing amid the novel coronavirus pandemic, and another in which she falsely suggested voter fraud occurred. It sounds like just kind of some things that moved further alt right and
Maybe not conservative.
denigrating people. Yeah. But denigrating people based on cultural and religious identities and things like that. So
She had it bad though because she was getting shit for being not that she was a DEI hire, but she was getting shit as being one, and then getting fired for her views.
she likened being a Republican to being a Jew in the Holocaust.
Whoa,
Is one of the things. So
okay, so it was pretty right. Yeah,
it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Yeah. pretty. Yeah. I mean, there's no concentration camps for Republicans. I think we're all pretty well aware.
So she got fired, and it was a big move because she was a big character. Like she was a central character in the show. And anyway, the show still works just fine without her. It's a good show. You should watch it.
Yeah. We've been wanting to watch Andor because I've heard good things about that. I'm not like a huge Star Wars guy, but
yeah,
I've heard some nice things about that. So.
It is good. Yeah, it's good. I think the ones that I mean, if we're going to tie this to the Manosphere, there's like a prequel called Acolyte, I think, and after the first season, it was canceled, and a lot of women in that, mostly women in that show, and now it's canceled. So, Star Wars is not friendly to women.
This cancel culture, canceling Star Wars, even yeah.
But Star Wars, is with I think the trilogy that came out. I started when I was in Prague, and I think ended when I was in Prague. Yes, but with the Daisy Ridley as the protagonist.
Yeah,
people crapped all over that, man. And then having a black guy as the other main protagonist.
Oh man, I remember they hated that.
Yeah, they did. Jeez, and a lot of women in Star Wars now, and that's just not sitting well with the dudes.
Get over it, dudes. Yeah, I think I only saw the first one of those. I liked her. I thought she's real good. I thought everybody in that movie was good. I'm just not that into Star Wars, so I didn't see it.
I liked all three. They were good. Anyway, I am into Star Wars. Not a super nerd or anything, but I do like the series.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's just it's not something I've gone out of my way. And like when you have kids and jobs and everything, at some point it's like, and my wife works US hours and we're here, so she works at night. So like we really do have to go out of our way to see some things. So it's it's never made the cut. I'll just say that.
Mandalorian?
No, I think my wife watched The Mandalorian with our older son, but they stopped at some point. He's just come out as non-Star Wars.
Where did you guys go wrong?
Yeah, we hear that a lot from Star Wars. We have a friend that's so into Star Wars, so like diehard Star Wars. And we were out with him the other day, and my son was like, "Well, I don't like Star Wars. I just feel like they just do the same thing over and over again, and I don't like it." And he was like, "Oh, let me find something you love and ruin it for you." So we're, I enjoy the Wars of the Star, but I'm not that into it. So
right.
I lose out on things unless something calls it to my attention.
There's most of that stuff. It's just been so saturated, like all the Marvel stuff and then the Star Wars stuff. It's just so saturated now that I'm interested in it all, but I'm just probably not going to watch most of it anyway.
You just kind of have to pick a lane. Like you can't do it all.
Yeah,
I feel like. So we picked Marvel, and and thank God there was finally a good one again.
Well, I look forward to watching Thunderbolts. I'll probably wait until it's on television, but I think the last movie I saw was Wolverine versus what's his face, Deadpool versus Wolverine?
Deadpool and Wolverine. Yeah.
I hadn't been to the movies, and no, I saw Barbie in the movies. That was really good too. Did you see
Barbie? Was amazing. Yeah, I thought it was amazing. Yeah,
I did too. It was really good.
I really was not expecting much of anything. I didn't have anything going into it, and then I just really, really enjoyed it.
I mean, talk about I mean, Margot Robbie. That one scene where she's this isn't exactly a spoiler because it's not you know critical to the plot, but that one scene where she's just kind of weeping to herself because she's not pretty. Like, wow, what a commentary on the life of a woman. Yeah, that's you have this
Yeah.
absolutely gorgeous woman in immaculate presence crying because she's not pretty. Like that's oh man, that was perfect.
And it's Barbie, right? Barbie is the pinnacle. Barbie is the thing that you're supposed to be. And if she can feel that way, then it's liberating that everybody can.
She was made to feel that way though. That's the thing.
Right.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
It's a brilliant movie. Yeah. Who's the director? She's been on my radar for a while too.
Gerwin.
Yes, it's
Greta Gerwin.
that's the
Greta
one. That's
Gerwin?
the one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I remembered something.
All right, Skip. Well, I'm going to jump right into a question that I want you to answer. I'm not going to give you a menu anymore. I just want you to answer this one question. Not too personal. Don't worry about it. My question is, my demand, I say, is I would like to know 2 or 3 interests of yours that I might not know about. Like, for example, like, are you a secret stamp collector, or or do you practice Tai Chi? Do you break dance? I would like to know something interesting about you, or a couple interesting things about you that I don't know about.
So, a couple interesting things about me. One is I have always been really flexible. I don't know if you know that, like really flexible. I was in high school and I was in wrestling and stuff. I could do things that you weren't supposed to do, and it would like really weird out my opponents because like they'd be like, "I've got him trapped," and then I'd just like kind of slide out of it. But I could get both my legs behind my head and walk around on my hands, not very far.
Wow.
I'd tip over. I could do the splits every direction. Yeah, my shoulders are very flexible, and I think it's actually like I don't get muscle problems, but I have a lot of joint problems now, and I think maybe it has something to do with like flexibility
Yeah.
when I was well, maybe even now, but
Well,
I never heard anything else about my joint.
well, you reminded me about your flexibility when you were describing how you hurt your shoulder, and you just kind of nonchalant. It was like, yeah, I was laying on my stomach in bed reading, and I'm like, wait, you're laying on your stomach reading? If I did that, I would have a backache. My like all my body would go out of whack. I'm about as flexible as a wooden plank. I have no flexibility in my body at all.
Well, I think I remember telling you I was a big kid, and I did karate for a while when I was younger, like fifth, sixth, seventh grade, somewhere. And we had a thing, if you could do the splits, you got a candy bar. And that's what it took a couple of months, but that's what got me to do the splits was I finally got, finally got that candy bar. I'm a very food motivated guy. Yeah. Did you need another one?
I did need another one. Yes.
Okay, I don't know if you knew this, but as a child, I was a serial entrepreneur. I had a dog walking business, and I do a quarter a block a dog. So I would go around and get clients, and they'd give me like times to pick up their dog and walk them around the block, like 3 blocks or 4 blocks or something like that. And it was, busy people, old people that had dogs that needed exercise. And at one point, I started doing it on roller skates because I figured out that was both faster and easier. And I would just let the dogs pull me around the block. So that was one. I had instead of a lemonade stand, I had a milkshake stand.
Okay.
In the heat of Chico. It was like I people would come out and I'd charge $5 for a milkshake, and they could have vanilla or chocolate, and I'd go inside and make the milkshake and bring it back out to them. But
And then the Department of Health shut you down, or what?
no, I just decided because I must have been in fifth or sixth grade then, and maybe seventh tops, but the logistics of you go through the ice cream and the milk really fast, and the logistics of stocking up and the price and how much does this amount of materials make for this, and am I making my money or am I losing money? I just decided it was not worth it. But yeah, I had a bunch of little businesses like that. I made logos for some businesses when I was little. Yeah, I was just very Like it was money and food. That's what I wanted.
Well, that was good though. I mean, you were thinking creatively at a pretty young age.
Yeah.
I think I did like, I crushed up a bunch of M&Ms once and like made them into little nasty balls and froze them and then sold those. And I've tried little things like that. But it sounds like
Yeah.
you were much more serious and you were thinking about cost and
Well,
expenses and.
I think I wasn't thinking about that, and that's why that business died.
Oh, I see. Okay. I thought you were like drawing out all the overhead, and we're like, no, this isn't going to work.
No, no, no. It was like it was to the point where I had to figure it out,
Yeah,
and I was like, you know what? Never mind. This
yeah,
is I don't have a car. I have to go like a mile to get this ice cream every time I need a new batch, and
yeah,
yeah, it just proved to be kind of a silly amount of work for a kid.
yeah. I did not know these two things about you.
Yeah,
I think that actually might be a recurring question here and there because I'm sure there's buckets more that you could say.
there probably are, but I'm not always going to be able to remember them.
Well, they could be ongoing though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You could still be breakdancing and doing the splits.
So I got a question for you. You had mentioned that you're hitchhiking, and I did ask you why you hitchhiked, but you had mentioned that you had some foundational experiences hitchhiking, and I was hoping to hear about one or two of them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the whole experience was just foundational because I was not relying on anyone but myself. I mean, deciding where I was going to go. I navigated for years. I bragged. I navigated through LA. I navigated through LA a few times, but on my own. But at that time, I was a kid, and I didn't. There wasn't like Google Maps or anything. I was just figuring out how to get through the town, and it's a big place. I did that through multiple large cities, but as far as foundational goes, I think the biggest one was actually happened right after the fact. Not right after, but maybe a year and a half after the fact. A girl I met while I was traveling. She was from Quebec, Canadian, and we developed a relationship, and we were together for a while. And when we parted ways, we had parted ways with the intent to like get back together. We were going to be together. You know what I mean? Like that was our plan. And I just I wasn't mature enough for it, I think. And she was, we had such a good, it was such a good relationship. And I knew it at the time. And I broke up with her really for no reason. I broke up with her just because there were other girls closer. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I was immature and I was young. And yeah, anyway, so I broke up with her. She was pretty devastated. And then about a year later, she died. She died in a car accident. And
Oh, jeez.
yeah, and I did not recover for that for a long time. I think it took me even just a few years ago. I think I'm good now, but it took a really long time and a lot of mourning, a lot of just a lot of sadness, real sadness for a
Hmm.
long time. So I mean, the experience of hitchhiking was really formative because I was just so free. But then the tragedy afterward, a lot happened from it. All came out of that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
yeah, I think it prepared me for loss. It prepared me for I've never been heartbroken. I've never had a girl like break my heart except for her. That was my big heartbreak, and hasn't happened before. It didn't happen before. It hasn't happened since. But and that's all I need. I don't need another one of those.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the big one for me. As far as any other little experiences go, just travel, man. Like the just being out there and discovering and I realized that people yeah, people that I would meet were like, "Oh, you're from Texas, but you have long hair." I had like a huge mane of hair, and they genuinely wanted to know if people were on horses in Texas. It was back before like everyone knows everything. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we have the internet now, and they're like, "Oh, do you have a horse?" I'm like, "No, I don't have a horse." Like, "Do you have a gun?" I'm like, "No, I don't have a gun." Like, do you carry a gun? Like, "No, I don't carry a gun." Like this,
That's hilarious.
all the stereotypes of Texas were very noticeable. I don't know, it was just a good time. I recommend anybody with the sort of drive to just get out there, and even
Hmm.
if it's just for a month or as much time as you can afford. I don't even mean financially because I had no money. I just like I'd saved a little bit and I just took off and I worked here and there where I could. But like, just get out there before you have like life responsibilities that tie you to a place, and you can't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I second that. Not to move on glibly past the
No.
death, but you mentioned people talking about being from Texas. and if you had a horse and a gun and stuff. And that's so funny to me because my dad's from Texas, as we've talked about, and they ended up in California. And the way they ended up in California was they went on vacation in California and their house burned down. So they stayed. Nothing to pack or move. So it made it kind of easy in that. But he said like people when he moved, it was one of the things I always remember is all the Californians would be like, do you get attacked by Indians? And
Wow.
like just this phenomenal like people know so little about not only the world but even just other parts of the country. It's amazing. Like if that's not a good enough reason to go out and just like move around when you can,
Yeah.
then I don't know what is. Like see what the world is.
Well, and that was a big takeaway for me too. Is like so many people are like, "Oh, I'm going to go to Paris. I'm going to go to London, and I'm going to backpack through Europe." And I'm like, "Do you have any idea how much I have seen in the United? There's so much in the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a continent. You know what I mean? Like essentially, it is massive, and there's so many cool things. I mean, and not to be protectionist or whatever, like, oh, you know, vacation in your own country, but like, there's so
Yeah.
much at home that is way cheaper than like super expensive plane ride. You know what I mean? And then like, yeah, you don't have to learn any languages or anything. Just go see Mount Rushmore. Go check out the Golden Gate Bridge, and there's so much.
Well, and for a couple of guys that are expatriates that don't live in the US anymore, like I think we're both in agreement about like visiting and seeing some of them. The US has some really amazing things.
Yeah,
It's got amazing nature. It's got some amazing cultural things. It's got some amazing food. But like I was astounded when I was walking across the country at just how gorgeous so
right.
much of our country really is. And I honestly felt like walking it, maybe a bike, but walking it was kind of the way to go because you just got to see so much where you just fly past it in a car and it was gone,
Yeah.
you know? And there's so much more to our country than we get in our, in our daily commute.
You know, in traveling that way too. I mean, this was kind of my immature way of being, but you know, what's your favorite color, sort of thing. I always had to have a favorite something, and I hit Colorado, and I'm like, Colorado's my favorite state. I go to Utah, I'm like, Utah, it's my favorite state. Got to New Mexico, I'm like, New Mexico is my favorite state. Every state I went to was my new
Yeah.
favorite state. You know what I mean? I just loved it. It was everything. There was something beautiful everywhere you went there,
Yeah.
and even like the sandy hills of Nebraska, man, where it's just like rolling hills of just like tall dead grass, and it's just absolutely beautiful. I mean, there's nothing there. It's not flat.
Openness. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just open and just wind and yeah, it's just beautiful. And to be walking through it, you know what I mean? Like I didn't get rides. I'd spent hours and hours and hours with my thumb in. I'd be sleeping on the side of the road, sleeping with my thumb in the air, not in the air, but out, because I was just my hand was conditioned to have my thumb out, and so I spent a lot of time just walking and just being outside, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was really nice. One last thing about that. This isn't informative, but something else that I noticed is people who would pick me up, they were very proud of their city or their state or whatever, and often they would say, you know, this, you know, insert town, insert name of town, is the fastest growing city in the United States, or this bridge, it's the second highest bridge in blah blah whatever. They all had some like superlative to this aspect of their hometown or their state or whatever. It was
Yeah.
so funny, and even the expressions were the same. Like in Texas, you always, and you probably heard this, you know, wherever you are. There's an expression in Texas. There's like, if you don't like the weather in Texas, stick around a while. Stick
Oh,
around a while, it'll change. But they have that in
every
every single
city. Every
every place
city.
is the same. Yeah, it's just so funny. They were like, oh no, no, this is specific to my area. Like, no, 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 they have the same shit everywhere. All right, Skip, as promised, I'm going to quickly go through because we've gone quite over in time. A very quick, I guess, tutorial is the proper word for how to manifest. So, well, first, do you have any questions before I start?
Can I see a picture of you with long hair sometime?
Yes, I'm sure I can dig one up. So what I do, I manifest and I affirm kind of together. And I don't think that there's, I mean, people might disagree with that, but whatever, man. This isn't science for God's sake. So I'll do. You've kind of got the idea for manifestation. I'll come back to it, but for affirmations, I'll say something positive about myself. Not necessarily like lead the words not, lead the words never. leave those things out. Like I never eat pizza. If you're trying to lose weight or whatever, don't do that. Keep it positive, and instead use the words like I only eat healthy foods. Period.
Mhm.
That's that is an affirmation. It's not saying something positive about yourself, but you're affirming this thing about yourself that isn't necessarily true, but
Okay.
you're willing it to be true, and that's the manifestation part. The other thing too is, I mean, that's a very simple explanation. I can go into more detail though. The other thing too is to add gratitude into it, and I struggle with that a bit at first because I'm like, what? Adding like who am I thanking? Who am I grateful to? Sort of thing. But if you just add it, you start to think in terms of gratitude outside of your affirmations, outside of your manifestations, and like I oftentimes I find myself looking around and I'm not just grateful, I'm relieved with where I'm at right now. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that I'm not depressed, and I'm so grateful that I'm not just fucking miserable or angry like I used to be. So anyway, so you add in a little aspect of gratitude. Like I am grateful to be proficient at Spanish, as you were trying to do for yourself. Right? Where you were trying to learn. Am I mixing?
I'm trying to learn. Yeah,
Yeah.
proficient's probably aiming high, but yeah.
Yeah, well, but either way, you're aiming, and you said earlier you're not doing stuff that are out of your range of possibilities. My advice to you is just do it. You're not. I mean, you don't have to be held accountable to anyone about it. Nobody's gonna know you're doing this. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to say like, let's say you want to be the next winner of the Masked Singer, you know,
I always find suitcases of money.
Yes, yes. I know that sounds so silly, but like, whatever, man. Just say it because that might come to you in a way that you might not find a suitcase of money, but you might get a scratch off that you win,
Yeah.
$1,000 or whatever. So anyway, yeah, add a bit of gratitude. I'm thankful to have run into some money this year. I'm thankful to have run into some money this year. I'm thankful to have run into some money this year. I say that stuff on repeat. I say it when I wake up in the morning. I say it when I go to bed. I say it throughout the day if I can recall. And I don't just say it once. I say it maybe minimum 3 times. And it just keeps your mind around it. And I know that it sounds very aspirational to be asking for things that you have no control over, but just try it. It's not going to hurt anything by just trying.
Yeah, I like this, and I really like the bit about being thankful and gratitude, like because what I see is as building gratitude as a habit. And gosh, man, that sounds like being just like grateful for things all the time sounds like a really nice existence.
Yeah, it is really nice, and it bleeds into your everyday life as well.
Well, thank you for the lesson. I think you've given me like some things to actually think about. I was just kind of fooling around, but it's the gratitude thing specifically sounds really good to me.
Thanks for joining us. New podcasts every week. If any part of this show has resonated with you, let us know at outsidethemanosphere@gmail.com. We hope you'll come back. Enjoy your week.
This is Carlos.
Hey, Carlos.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Hey,
Oh, you can't hear me.
Carlos.
He said, "Hey, I left a banana out there for you. You can have some muesli, but can you eat it on the table in the other room? Is that
Yeah.
cool? All right.